the lives that we live, they're not normal. They're not typical. Like, the normal person doesn't deal with this, where you could be in a relationship with someone for 6 years and you're doing the most long distance you've ever been doing. It's so hard, and it does feel sometimes like you do have to choose, do I want my career and to be where that is, or do I want to be with my partner supporting them? And it's so hard to balance. And I'm lucky because I am doing this myself and I'm my own employer, and a lot of it's online. But there are so many girls who do have to make that decision because they can't work because they're in a country where they're not from, they don't have a visa, or just finding a job that's flexible with hockey is like, it's impossible.
You're listening to Breaking the Ice podcast, a podcast that I created in 2020 to connect women within the hockey world. My name's Devin Dodaro, my husband's Charlie Dodaro, and we've played literally all over the world. We have 2 kids, 2 dogs, and let's just say hockey has taken my world by storm. What I've learned is that this community and these experiences are very specific, and you should not have to go through this alone. Through this podcast, I share the tools, resources, do's, don'ts, and what's helped me along the way while continuing to learn from each and every one of you. So lace them up and tune in for episodes twice a month. And make sure to follow the page on Instagram at Breaking the Ice Pod. Hello, happy June. I just had to start this over because I started saying happy July, which just goes to show that the summer is flying by. I cannot even believe it. I'm currently sitting in a parking lot in my car as my son is in speech therapy. And I was like, oh, this is the perfect time to record this intro while I have a moment. I don't know about you guys, but the off season is so crazy. I feel like it's go, go, go in the best way possible. I do thoroughly enjoy being busy. And I talked about this on Instagram on a quick blip on my stories, but I feel like I get really bored during the hockey season because like I don't have my structure and routine and like the places that I go to, and I just feel like I have a lot more downtime to sit around, and I do like to kind of be running from place to place, seeing person to person. But it definitely caught up with me last week when I went on my little getaway. I was sick, I was really not feeling well, and the 4 of us have kind of been fighting this cold, so that has not been ideal. Ready for that to end. But yeah, I can't believe, how fast this is going by. We are not currently signed with the team, hoping to hear some news soon to share with you guys. But yeah, I'm super excited for today's episode. If you're new here, this is a podcast I created in 2020 to help support women in this community. It's turned into so much more. There's so many people that are interested in the kind of behind the scenes of this lifestyle now, and it's been so fun to see the podcast expand in that way. Today on the podcast, I have Katherine Ellis joining me, or Kat, and it was so much fun talking to her. She is so awesome. She's someone I have followed on social media for a while, and I've known that I wanted to have her on the podcast. Her and her boyfriend met in college, so she lived the hockey girlfriend life in college, and then he is now playing professionally. So we chat about what that transition looked like for them, going from college to pro and, journeying through that together. She's also a very career-driven person, and so this is an important episode and topic that's not discussed enough. But when you are a career-driven person, it can be very difficult to follow your significant other around and support them while also feeling this draw to, do your own thing and follow your own dreams and follow your own passions. I've talked to a lot of women over the years that have struggled with this big time because they feel like, there's more for me. Like I need to figure out what I want to do. Or I know what I want to do and I can't do it while I'm, following my significant other. So it can cause this kind of push-pull feeling, which can be, really difficult. And so we get into that. We chat about how life can look so different from season to season, which is so relatable. I think, we can all sit around and agreeably say that not one season looks exactly the same. Like you could have a killer year with an amazing group, and then the next year, like even if you play and sign in the same place, like the group shifts slightly, which then changes the dynamic. So you really never know what you're going to get. And I think when you do have such a fun team, like that's kind of your baseline, and it is hard to like have anything different than that after you've had that kind of experience. We have a lot of laughs in this episode. We play some little fun trivia, quick fire rapid answer game. And yeah, we just chat about all the things. Of course, this is summer, so it's a very busy time, but I am always looking for guests to have on the podcast. I have kind of a running list of people that I reach out to that I feel have interesting stories to share. But if you're ever interested in coming on the podcast, I always encourage people to fill out a little guest submission on my website. Even if you filled this out like a year ago and I have not reached out to you, please know that I do have a really like extensive list on there. And I do circle back with people even like a year later. It's just kind of one of those things where I map out like what the topics and, you know, current things that I do want to talk about and have on. And then I kind of draw from that list when I feel like it's a good fit. So I encourage you, if you're ever interested in sharing your story, to fill that out on my website. But as always, thank you so much for being here and being supportive and engaging on the page. And it just, you know, listening to the podcast, it really means the world to me, and I appreciate it more than you know. I hope everybody's enjoying their summer. I definitely want to do kind of a longer solo episode soon. I feel like it's been a minute since I've done that, and just chat about the off season, and not in particular as personal as my off season, but just the feelings that can come along with an off season, like not having a contract or the anxiety of having to move again and, you know, figuring out all of that. So I will definitely be doing that soon. You'll be hearing from me. But without further ado, let's get into today's episode. I hope you enjoy.
Hey!
Oh my gosh, are we matching?
No, we're actually matching.
We came wearing green hats. That's great. I love it. I love it.
Of course. That's so funny of us.
Yay! I'm so excited to talk to you.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Are you guys still in playoffs?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So is it the second round or the third round?
It is the third, but it's like their second round playing because they had a first round bye.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
3, 4, and 5, and then it's...
So where is home for you? Will you guys stay there over the summer, or where do you guys go?
We're both from Massachusetts, so
Okay.
we stay in the city in Boston, and also my boyfriend trains in Boston, so it like works out perfect that we get to see our families, and that's like where his training is. So we're gonna go back.
Okay. Do you like it there?
Love it. Love it.
Is it Fort Collins?
Yeah, so a lot of people live like in Fort Collins, like we live in Fort Collins, and then the rink is in Loveland.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I know Mercedes because she came to my retreat like 3 years ago, and she was so cute. She messaged me when she saw you were coming on the podcast, and she's like, oh my God, Kat's like one of my really good friends, and they live right next to us, and she's like the sweetest ever.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Literally, like they're the only people that live like right next to us. Our dogs play like 2 times every single day. Like when we're done recording, I'll probably go like let our dogs together.
That's so nice. I know, it's nice to have someone that's like, you know, kind of in the same season of life as you, like with a dog or with a kid. Like it's just, and especially if you live nearby each other, it's convenient and it's easy. And especially when you just click like that, it's really nice.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd love for you to just introduce yourself for the people that are listening and just share about who you are and what you do and who your boyfriend is, where you're playing, all the things.
Oh my gosh, everything. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I love this pod. I think you do like such a good job with it. My name is Katherine Ellis, everybody. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and I am currently working in, I would say, like a freelance sports media space. I have my own series that I host called Out of His League that highlights women in sports and all the different perspectives you get as a female with game days. And on the personal side of my life, I'm dating my longtime boyfriend, Jake Wise. We've been together for 6 years now, which is crazy. But we are in our second pro season currently in Colorado with the Colorado Eagles, the AHL affiliate of the Colorado Avalanche.
Well, I went on like a deep dive of you this past week. I did my research, and
I love what you've created with Out of Her League. And I think it's so amazing what you've been doing lately. And I want to hear about like how you decided to start that ultimately. And also, as I was doing my due diligence, I saw that you used to work for Barstool. And I also want to get into that. But first, let's talk about your business, what you're creating right now.
So I think the show just came super organically over a long period of time. I was starting to create content on my own and also trying to find an area that wasn't really being covered that aligned with me as a person. I had done trial and error with a bunch of different types of content in the past, and I noticed really quickly that the things that I wasn't like aligned with or super passionate about, it wasn't performing well. So I took a long time, and I think it was just over a long period of time, like thinking about what's out there and stuff. I was really reflecting on all of the different experiences I've had throughout my life as somebody who was an athlete at one point, who was a cheerleader, who was a reporter, who is now dating an athlete. And I've just met so many incredible women throughout my time in all of these different atmospheres. And the one thing that ties them all together is that during all these different stages of my life, I had a game day, and all of these women that I think of that I'm fans of, or they inspire me, or they're my best friend, they all have game days too. And I'd seen it done so many times there's so many now, thank God, there's so many incredible shows and podcasts out there that highlight female athletes. And there's so many incredible shows and podcasts out there that highlight women who work in sports. But there were people I was meeting who I was just in awe of, who were partners of professional athletes, or they're cheerleaders, and they're not getting the spotlight that I think that they deserve. And that's kind of why I was like, I'm going to try to give them that spotlight and give them that space to highlight them. And that's really how I created the show. So there's no box of who can be on it other than it's a girl. Like, the men get enough screen time everywhere else all the time. You are not welcome. But all the girls, if you experience a game day in any capacity, I love sharing that story. And I think so many people experience game days on different levels, whether they're heavily into sports or it's their first time at a game. So I think what makes the show super unique is every single episode you can find something to connect with the guests there. And that's really important to me. And I've just loved doing it. I've been so fortunate that only in, I think, 6 episodes, I've had such an incredible cast of people to be able to feature, but also the variety of people that I've been able to feature really exemplifies what I want to do with this series of letting any girl that has a game day share their story on the show.
Yes, I love that so much. And I love that you're highlighting women. And I think that's so awesome because, you know, like you said, guys kind of get all this screen time, and there's such a unique aspect of it, bringing the women into it. And especially, like you said, in different directions, like showing the wife of an athlete, showing women athletes, like there's so many different directions that you can go with that. And I love that so much. So what does like a typical work week, if you will, look like for you? Because you're doing it freelance. So how do you come up with the concepts that you're going for?
So in the beginning, I did it kind of as a batch, like a season 1, where I think the first episode I shot was in January, and then I just did a couple over a few months. And I think it took like 6 months for me to turn it around. And it does take a really, really long time because I do it all myself. I edit it all myself and put it out there, and I do all the social clips and run the socials for it, and I'm the one reaching out to guests. I don't have anyone doing that for me, so it's very time consuming.
Yes, I'm sure.
I would say, like, in the beginning where I did it as a season, and I really did like doing it that way, it's just super hard where it like pushes back my productivity or it pushes back like the timeline, so sometimes things become irrelevant by the time the episode gets out. So that's something I'm still working on right now. I'm definitely not a pro at it, and I keep learning as I go and trying to change and tweak things here and there. But I was like, okay, my first idea was, let's get like 4 girls that I know I've met in my past, I know through my network, and try to get a variety that showcases like, okay, we had a sports broadcaster, and then we had a sister of a hockey player. And I was just trying to showcase the different angles with the show so people recognized how it was different from what was already out there.
Yeah.
Now it's changing a bit since like that first season came out. There's been a couple of opportunities. I'm so thankful that like people have come to me and people have started coming to me asking to feature them or their employee or their team. And so that's nice that that's helping me a little bit, because doing all of the production of it and the outreach of guests and also being mindful and like I'm constantly looking for new people every time I scroll on my phone. I'm never just like passively scrolling. The second I see a girl, I have like a folder in my TikToks and it's like saved to like potential OOHL girls.
So I'm so curious on a personal level though, do you like fly, so you're flying out to go like interview these women and go experience it from their perspective?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of travel. I, especially in the beginning, was trying to be very mindful of where I was physically and who I was able to kind of go after to be on the show based on where I would be physically. So my first guest was Amina Smith, who was just based in Massachusetts, and I'm from Massachusetts, so that was easy. And Catherine Bogart and Katia Lindor were in New York and New Jersey. So I knocked both of those out back-to-back days at the end of the last hockey season when I was road tripping from Chicago back to Boston with my boyfriend. We knew we were going to do an overnight somewhere. So I was like, hey, why don't we pit stop in New York for 2 nights and I'll whip out 2 episodes of Out of His League with these 2 girls and then we go home to Boston. So it's a lot of working around like my personal life schedule, and then there's times the White Sox I just like flew out on a random weekend. So I'm trying to schedule a new one right now and I'm like, okay, well it depends how far we go in playoffs, like when I'm going to be available. I'm going to find out the day before. So
yes.
Just because I am independent, I'm freelancing it, I'm self-funding it. There's so many guests I want that are like so far away that have already said yes, but I have to be very conscious budget-wise of who I'm investing to do those trips with. So I would say the majority of the guests right now have just worked out physically, location-wise, to be close or easily accessible to where I am. But long-term goal, I hope I'm legit doing all the pin drops on the map of the new locations unlocked, and I'm going this place, this place, and this place to make it work with them. Yeah, it's a lot in balancing all the different sports schedules and locations. It's a whole gym.
Yeah, but you're making like so many amazing connections as well. And I saw the, event you did for hockey recently, and I was like, she's crushing it. Like, that's seriously amazing that you're doing all of that. And I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give to someone in this lifestyle if they are, wanting to do something of their own? Like, is there anything that comes to mind that you would, maybe they're feeling lost or maybe they're like unsure of how to take that first step? Like, what would you say to them?
My first piece of advice is just take the step. Even if you don't feel ready, even if your shoes aren't tied, just leave the house, go out barefoot. Because I waited so long to start this because I wanted it to be so perfect before I started. I'm a perfectionist. I'm type A. I'm OCD. I really wanted it to be like flawless. And that's just so unrealistic, especially when you're doing it yourself. Maybe if I was an intern at a huge company and all I did was like the subtitles and we put out the first episode, maybe it would have been perfect on Netflix Sports, but that's not how it works. And I would say once you take that step, be willing to adapt. The way that I'm going about shooting my episodes now, about 1.5 years after I filmed my first one, my approach is totally different. And that's because I'm really analyzing what worked well and what didn't. So once you take that step, be willing to adapt, even if it's not what you thought the vision was at first. If you're willing to adapt, it's going to grow and it's going to get better. And that's really what I'm doing. I'm still doing it every single day. I posted on my story yesterday talking about potentially changing the structure of the show because I'm running into technical difficulties. And I think that's the most important thing with an ever-evolving media landscape is just start. Nothing's ever going to be perfect when you start. Even if you think it's perfect then, 3 years down the road, hopefully you're looking back and you're like, that was horrible because that's my biggest piece. And then just socially, with sports, I say it's kind of about what you know, but it's really about who you know. and being so mindful of the circles and relationships that you build and keeping those strong connections, because every single guest I've had and opportunity that I've had has come from networking and my connections and relationships that I've just kept over time. And I think that happens so much in the sports landscape, especially in sports media. There are opportunities that don't even get posted. Like, they're not getting posted on LinkedIn all the time, but you might have someone you used to work with tell you that it's going to open up, and you can get that email in before the job ever gets posted. So I think that's really big, is to make your connections in your network. And I still keep in touch with the people I had as my bosses at an internship. I ran into one of them at Four Nations, and I think I was an intern with them in 2008. And I ran up and gave him a hug, and he was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I got a job." And he was like,
"Oh my gosh."
And it was just the
full
best
circle
experience ever. Yeah. And we were emailing after the fact. So yeah, never, ever, ever burn a bridge.
Yes, no, that is so true. You never know who will be a connection for you in the future. So that's very good advice.
Sports, entertainment, media worlds are just ever revolving doors. Even on the sports side, there's a reason the coaches, there's the same 20 coaches rotating around the NHL every season. It's just a revolving door. You're gonna run into them again.
Yes, exactly. So, and then you, with Barstool, was that an internship?
Yes.
Okay, so you had a podcast, right, or a show called Chicks University. So how the hell did you get an internship at Barstool? Because that is such a big deal. Not saying that you wouldn't be naturally get that, but just I think so many people would die to work at Barstool, and I'm just that's major. And I feel that would open up, like you said, you running into someone, it could open up so many doors for you, and also just what you might have learned there that you could implement into your career now.
Yeah, so that was kind of exactly what I was just talking about, where my foot in the door there started when I was a hostess at a sports restaurant that happened to be across the street from NBC Sports studio at the time. And a man named Jared Carabas worked at NBC Sports Boston, and he used to come and get takeout at the restaurant. And I knew he also worked at Barstool, and I was like, that'd be a really cool place to work. So I made a connection with him when I met him in person. One night he came for chicken wings, and I was just like, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And I was probably 15 or 16, but we ended up following each other on Twitter. And then when I got to college, 3 or 4 years later, I also asked him about internships at NBC Sports Boston, gave me the contact for it. I interned for them next summer. He was gone, but I kept in touch with him. So then when I finished high school and got to college, I really wanted to run our school's Barstool account. They have all the university accounts for school. So I messaged him.
Right.
And I was like, "Hey, do you know how I apply to run this account?" He was like, "Yep, message this person." I filled out an application, ended up becoming the person that runs Barstool Boston University. And then they take interns from that pool of their college account network every single summer. So I knew that was coming up, and I was just super strategic about thinking about what I wanted to do there, and came up with something that nobody else does there. And I sent in a whole video pitching myself. And then, I did an interview, and then I became a summer intern from that program. So I think they usually bring in 10, it might be more now, interns every summer, from that program specifically.
Wow. Yeah. So moral of the story, put yourself out there, talk to people, make connections, because you never know. And that is amazing. Did you enjoy your time there?
Oh my God. Yeah. It was the world's best learning experience ever. I learned so much about myself and what I wanted to do, and there were so many brains to pick there, and they operate so different than anything else I experienced. Prior to that, I was at NBC Sports Boston, I was at Boston 25, I was Boston University Athletics. Everything was super traditional, and they're as non-traditional as it gets. So every other place I was an intern, I got a to-do list in the morning and had my tasks, and then they were figure it out, figure out something and do it and have fun.
Wow.
So it was I was on an island, but it made me grow so much as a person. And also just being in New York City, I would recommend everybody your first year out of college to move to New York City, because I grew so much, and I'm so thankful. And that's like another place where I made sure I left on good terms with everybody. And yeah, I'm so thankful for it. And like, it was like literally like the funniest, best memories ever.
I'm sure. I'm sure. And what a cool thing to say, you know, like it's something on your resume as well. And that's major. So that's really cool. So did you and your boyfriend meet in college?
Yes, we both went to Boston University.
Okay. So how did you guys meet? At a party?
Well, I wish it was at a party. I was working for the hockey team and he was on the hockey team.
Okay. There we go.
He actually was hurt his whole first season. Oh, we would like sit and watch practices together. And I think we just built such a good like friendship at our core. And then it like transitioned into us dating like months later. But I always say like injury that he probably thought was like super bad for his career. I'm like, I don't know if he got injured, like if we ever would have been in this position.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody else I was spending as much time with as him. Like even like the I'm not even with like the staff as much because I'm the only one that had to sit and watch practice. I wasn't on the ice and he would sit and watch with me. And then at away games, I'd have to go to the grocery store and like pick up like yogurt and berries for the guys mid-game snack. And on the road, he'd be so bored because he wasn't doing what all the guys playing were doing. So he'd be like, I'll come to Star Market with you. And we just became like super friends. And then we eventually started dating. And
yeah, isn't that so crazy? It's like those little moments where you think are like nothing or like a huge deal. It's like everything works out the way it's supposed to. Like I think they say something too, like, oh, if you're running late, like it could be like a sign that's protecting you from like, you know, getting in a car accident. Like kind of different subject there, but same concept with like meeting people. Like if he didn't get that injury, then yeah, you guys maybe never would have connected. And
it's such divine timing. And then we found out after that like he literally had played on like a summer team with my brother like 3 years before that. So the fact that we had never met and we're from one town over from each other, our houses were 10 minutes away from each other.
Wow.
Like I was in the hockey world. He played on his summer league team with my older brother who's 5 years older than him. Like the connections, our dads had done like work together because his dad was in construction and my dad was in like office spaces. It was so crazy. Like I was like, how have we not met?
Oh my gosh. And what year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2021.
Okay, so you guys were together. He was playing hockey in college and now he's playing pro. How has that transition been? Because obviously like it's a completely different realm / world.
Yeah, super different. There's like two tiers to it. One of like, it's different not working for his team anymore. And then when I was in New York City, he actually transferred to Ohio State and did 2 years there. So it was funny that I like wasn't the long distance girlfriend at BU, and I used to like look at the long distance girlfriends and been like, that must suck. And then I became one, and I was like, this sucks. Yeah, his first pro season was last season. We were in Charlotte together, and I was just like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just so different. I think the main difference is just like the other places where he played, like when we were at BU, like I had my whole own life there and my whole own identity, and they just like coincided with each other. Pros, it's like if he wasn't here for hockey, I wouldn't be in Loveland, Colorado voluntarily. like there's nothing for me career-wise here. So I think it was just like kind of learning that and adjusting to that. It's just, I don't know, like there's so many differences. I think it's kind of shocking. Girlfriend group chat for the first time, I was like, oh my God, like what? Crazy.
Did you ever find that you were like having a hard time with your own identity when you first started moving with him? Like, because you obviously, you know, had somewhat of an idea of what you wanted to do career-wise. Like you wanted to be in media, sports, like something maybe not as specific as like what you finally figured out, but knowing kind of that you wanted to get started in a career, did you find like when you first started going with him, you felt like a little lost, or I don't know, like how did you go into the whole experience, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I was just excited to not be doing long distance anymore since we did it we were together for 2 years, long distance for 2 years, which then became half the relationship. So I was very excited to move in together, that I think I kind of honestly put my career like on the back burner, and I was just like getting used to it. And then I actually like very recently, to be fully transparent, like had a breakdown after Four Nations. I got to work the Four Nations face-off in February in Boston. And that like was an absolute career peak for me. And it was such an amazing opportunity. And like a couple of days after, I was supposed to come back to Colorado. And never in my life have I ever just canceled a flight, ever. I was just having an awful feeling internally of like, I feel like there's nothing for me in Colorado. This weekend made me realize it. Like I was so happy doing my career that I was like, why am I going back to Colorado? Like, I know you're there, but like there's nothing for me there. And I had a really tough time. And I would say I was like pretty down bad for a couple of weeks identity wise. And then I came back because both of our birthdays are the same weekend. And I was like, I'll go back and then I'll feel better. And I think it was like the best eye-opening experience for me to know that like me personally, and everybody's different. And I genuinely support every journey that like every girl in this world is on, because everyone is in such different life positions. But like to me, my career is very important to me. And I realize I can't just move with him and like be his number one supporter and that be it. I'm so unfulfilled not pursuing my career and my passions that like that made me be like, girl, get back in the saddle and like go to work. So I'm very thankful that happened. It was a very hard time and it was definitely an identity crisis. But I'm like, okay, let's figure out how to get back in the saddle and start chugging along the way that we were before we got here.
Yeah, wait, I love that you shared that though, because that is like so real. And I think a lot of people truly experience that identity shift, especially if you are a very career driven person, to be like, wait a second, you know, you're young, you have this vision of what you want for yourself. And then to like have that, you know, such a high, because what you were doing was like amazing. Like what an incredible opportunity for you. And then to just kind of be like, wait, then I'm just going to go back and like, do what, you know? And so I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think it's something that people can feel very alone in. How did you process and get to that point where you were kind of feeling like, okay, I need to figure out like what's next? Because obviously with hockey, everything is so unknown. So sometimes you have to establish like, you know, some ground rule for yourself.
I think for me, it's still kind of a day by day figure it out situation. I think I'm a lot more mindful of it than I was a couple of months ago, which I'm very thankful for. I'm also tremendously thankful for my boyfriend, because he's the most understanding and like simultaneously supportive boyfriend ever. That if I told him, I don't want to live with you next season, I want to move to New York, he'd say, love it, go get it, girl. Like I'll help you find an apartment. So I'm very fortunate in that sense. And I mean, the lives that we live, they're not normal. They're not typical. Like the normal person doesn't deal with this, where you could be in a relationship with someone for 6 years and you're doing the most long distance you've ever been doing. It's so hard. And it does feel sometimes like you do have to choose, do I want my career and to be where that is, or do I want to be with my partner supporting them? And it's so hard to balance. And I'm lucky because I am doing this myself and I'm my own employer, and a lot of it's online. But there are so many girls who do have to make that decision because they can't work because they're in a country where they're not from, they don't have a visa, or just finding a job that's flexible with hockey is like, it's impossible unless you work for a golf and you're flipping seasons. Like that's it. So it's so hard. And I really do empathize with like all the girls in it, because I'm like, I get it and I feel it. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if other people are receptive of the fact that I care about my career a lot, because this is a great life and it's easy to like sit back and enjoy. And one day I will. But like right now, I'm just still hungry and I'm really working on navigating it. I think I'm trying to figure out like, okay,
how do I do both? Almost.
Yeah.
Like, how do I balance?
When I first came here at the beginning of the season, I didn't like pack for a full season. And I think that's it, is if I'm like living out of a suitcase, it's like, okay, go. Like go somewhere. Go do something for yourself. So I'm still navigating it and figuring it out, truthfully. But it's
almost like, well, like both of the schedules are so flexible in different ways. Like, yes, their schedule is set and you know what it's going to be, but it's also like flexible in the sense where like maybe it's not a busy time of year for you in your career. So then you can stay for a little bit longer. Like you don't have to be fully locked into either location, I guess. And like kind of just taking it as it comes and not being so locked into like one particular way or another. Like there's totally a way to balance both, you know, your career and also like supporting your partner, but it is hard.
The number one thing is I never know where to send any packages because I'm just always on the road. So if you ever send me a package and it gets lost, it's somewhere. I'll get to it eventually. That's like my biggest thing is I'm like, I don't know what my home zip code is right now. We're figuring it out.
Is that lack of stability hard for you? Like, because for me, I'm like, I'm such like, my home is like where I feel grounded. So I'm like, if I'm bouncing around or the unknown, sometimes I feel like more chaotic mentally, if that makes sense. Like, do you find that like the unknown of like where he's going to play next year? Like, does that stress you out at all? Or are you kind of like, we'll figure it out?
Yeah, I absolutely was going into it. I was like, so type A, like, what do you mean you don't know where you're playing next season? Like, what do you mean we got traded? Like, what the heck? But I've learned to just go with the flow and adapt. And I'm like, you know what? We are so young. We really don't have any baggage. Like, I'm just going to take advantage of like absolutely living out of a suitcase while I'm young. And like one day I will be like, we need to stay in this one spot, probably like having kids. But right now I'm just like, let's just experience things.
No, I love that. And I love the fact that like you're newer into the pro lifestyle. Like obviously you guys have been together a long time, but I've never really like talked to someone that you did the hockey thing in college, then you did the hockey thing outside of college, and obviously hopefully he has a long nice career. So it's good you have that mindset this early on.
Thank you.
And
I'm really learning like pros still. Like it's funny because people will be like confused that I don't understand things. And I'm like, my work was all in the NHL. The AHL and the NHL are so different. Like I learn something new every damn day. Last season, I kept saying like, I can't believe you can just get traded. That's crazy because no one in college hockey is getting traded. We get traded.
Exactly.
Like I'm learning. I'm adapting. Yes. I'm experiencing things. And I'm like, you know what? It's gonna make me more wise if I have to deal with all this bullshit in the beginning. I'll be wiser when I'm older. So I'll take it.
Oh my God.
Okay, guys, if you know me, you know I am a sucker for a cute pajama set. And I am literally wearing my Cozy Earth bamboo pajamas, and it is safe to say I am obsessed with them. They are the kind of pajamas that you just don't really want to take off. And I have been living in them in the slower mornings or when I'm winding down for nighttime after I put the kids to bed. After falling in love with the pajamas, I had to end up getting their sheets too, and they are so comfortable. They are so smooth and lightweight, and somehow they always feel so cool and clean when I get into bed. It's one of those things you just don't realize makes such a difference until you try it. And what's nice is that they offer a 100-night trial, so you can actually test the sheets out and return them if they're not for you. But I really don't think you'll want to do that. They also back their bedding with a 10-year warranty, which does say a lot about their quality promise of their products. If you're wanting to feel a little more comfortable in your everyday routine, whether it's sleep, travel, or just lounging, Cozy Earth has been such a good find for me, and I have a discount code to share with you all. Use the code ICE40 for 40% off anything on CozyEarth.com. You heard that right, 40% off. That's ICE40 for 40% off CozyEarth.com.
It's like, honestly, it does make you like wise and really feel like you can get through anything, because most couples in like the typical world, not in the sports world, like they're not having to do all of like the moving, the starting over, the making new friends, not just once every 2 years, every 5 years, like twice a year you're moving, you know, if not more, and never really knowing what's going to happen. And like that does put a lot on your relationship. And I think going back to the, you know, your career and everything, it's good that you're able to identify that that is something that's important to you and you're not willing to like change that. Like you're clear-minded on that. And that's really, I respect that a lot, especially at like your age, because I think when I'm talking to you, like you don't seem like you seem a lot older than you are. And maybe it's the pro hockey switch.
The trauma. Maybe it's pro hockey.
Like, it's the trauma. Exactly. What has been like the craziest, strangest thing that you've learned about pro hockey, I guess, since you've been in it? Like anything funny or like shocking besides the trades?
Yeah. Well, getting traded on trade deadline day when the night before this is Jake's first season. The night before I said, Jake, what if you get traded tomorrow? And he goes, Kat, there's a 0.0% chance I get traded. Like, he was in and out of the lineup like every 5 games, like not having a great year. He's like, why would I get traded? My parents flying from Boston to come and visit Charlotte for the first time, boarding the plane. Jake texts me, oh my God, I just got traded. I called my mom. She's like, are we supposed to come? I'm like, I don't know. I've never done this before. We adopted a dog 2 weeks prior. One of the girls called me, one of the vets, and she's like, are you packing? And I was like, am I supposed to be? Like, I don't know.
Oh my God.
Crazy. I think also just seeing how different the vibes can be year to year, team to team is very crazy. Technically, Jake's been on 4 teams in 2 years.
Oh, wow.
I've experienced 3 in 2 years, and just like the like chemistry and camaraderie and vibe can change so much team to team, season to season. Even though it's like the same thing, it can be such a different experience. And I think that's what's really surprising to me is like people, and also there'll be like somebody who had a great experience somewhere and someone who was in the same place and had a terrible experience.
That's actually so true.
Yeah, I think I'm very thankful. I feel like I've taken a step back and looked at it, and I already have the perspective of like, okay, it's kind of luck if you have a good experience somewhere versus somewhere else. And I'm very understanding that 2 people could have been on the same teams and had totally different experiences. And I'm thankful that I can like understand that, because I think it's made it easier for me to like go into the future with that mindset of like, there's probably going to be years where like it's not the best experience, and that's okay. That happens to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is so true. I was actually thinking about that like this past year, that like 2 people could have the same, like be on the same team and have completely, and like year, like I think a lot of people felt that way. Like some people loved it and some people were like, this is the worst season. And there's so many different things that can affect that dynamic. And like nothing is wrong with you if you don't like a place or a team or whatever. It's just like sometimes it just doesn't, it's just like not a match, you know? But it's so funny.
I will say like the number one thing I'm thankful for working in hockey before is being trained to like not react to the game, because I also fastly became cognizant of the fact that like just because our team's on a power play, that doesn't mean everyone sitting next to you is going to be happy, because some people that means extra time for their man. Some people that means, oh, my man's sitting for 5 minutes now. So it's like good things aren't good for everybody. So I think being able to realize that and be mindful of that, like college, it was like everyone was happy all the time. But I feel like in pro, I've really learned how impactful, like it's their career. It's not just a game anymore. And it's really impactful on people's mentality. So just being super understanding and empathetic towards like everybody around me is something I really try to do. I know I'm definitely still young. I probably made mistakes with it, but I'm trying to be so receptive of like, how could everybody feel in this situation? Like, go with it that way.
Yeah. Well, I think like in the AHL too, like you're in that in between where you're like so close to that next step. And then same with like if you're a call up from the ECHL into the AHL, it's like you're like having to do everything to be there. And so I think there's a lot of pressure, and it kind of like spirals out into the girls as well, because you obviously feel that for your guy that you're watching. And it's like some games for people are like, it's everything, you know? And it's like, if it's a bad game, like it could mean, you know, you're scratched or you're sent back down or you're not getting that call up. And so, yeah, I think it's like, it's just that kind of middle ground.
And we get both ends of the bargain too. We get people coming up from the ECHL and down from the NHL. The team, the roster, the group chat, it's always it fluxes, it changes, like always. So being adaptable with that, being appreciative of like spending time with the girls while they're here. If we don't know how long we're going to be here, I think it just made me more like a smell the flowers type of girl. But yeah, it's crazy. I'm very adaptable. I feel like if there was the apocalypse, I'd be fine. 2 years ago, I would have been dead, but now I'm like, I'd survive it. Like I'm very adaptable now.
You guys seem like you have a really good group too, which is like truly makes, I sound like a broken record, but it really does make or break your experience. And like, it looks like you guys have just like a really fun dynamic, and like you guys do a lot together. And like, I love when I see that, like it's major.
It's incredible. And definitely stems from like the leaders and the captains. I mean, especially our captains, the Megnas are incredible, like on the boys side and the girls side, always in the group chat, always making group plans, checking in on everybody. And I've like, this is my first time like really experiencing that. And I'm like, oh my God, like it trickles down like from the locker room to all the families and then like the girls as well. And it's just incredible. And I guess the boys had like a players only meeting, and a lot of the vets were saying like they've never seen a team like this with this camaraderie before. So I guess like one of the guys has been doing this for like 14 years and he said he's never had it. So I'm like, oh my God, is this as good as it's going to get? Like I'm only in my second season, you guys. I don't want to peak yet, but like, okay.
I know. You know, I do want to do a little like rapid fire question game with you. I have them typed out, so I'm just going to spit them at you and you can tell me your answer.
Oh God, I'm scared. I feel like this is that gets me in trouble because like my reflex answers are always just so like dark.
Okay. And I also want to tell you why I thought to do this specifically with you. I used to do this when I first started my podcast like a long time ago, like 2020. And the first time I ever discovered your page was because you were doing the rapid fire hockey terminology with your boyfriend in that funny voice. It was so funny.
It was like there was like so many people that didn't know I literally was a hockey broadcaster and played hockey. Like I knew exactly what I was asking, but I was like, it was doing numbies. So I'm like, I'm gonna keep doing this.
I think one of them was like lettuce. Is that one of them? Like your hair, your flow. Like, I don't know. It was so funny. So I was like, okay, got to do rapid fire to her.
Love it.
What is one thing that no one talks about when it comes to dating a pro athlete?
How you become a unregistered physical therapist and I am out here stretching him like a Navarro cheerleader and I know I'd be right. And he's like, no, you're doing it. And then he's like screaming and I'm like, I'm doing something wrong. And he's like, no, this is right. I'm a Theragun professional. Like that.
Massage therapist, physical therapist, all the things. You're like, you need to go to an office because I'm done doing this.
Yeah, like I'm literally going to add it to my resume.
What is something that people assume about the lifestyle that could not be further from the truth?
I mean, the basic answer is like that it's like glitzy and glammy. What you wouldn't assume is like how lonely it is, how isolating it is. You spend half the season alone in a new city where you don't know anybody. Definitely that, probably.
Yeah, I have like just something that popped in my head as like a spin-off off of that question. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like people portray it as that online?
Definitely yes, but I also think that now more than ever, people are showing the realness of it and the less glamorous sides. And I think it's becoming more universally known how real it actually is. And I think that's positive for the sport and humanizing the people involved with the sport. So yes, I think it's progressing in a positive way.
Yes, I completely agree. I think you see both sides of the spectrum, but I do agree with you that I think it's changed so much. And like, I really appreciate like people that are sharing the hard stuff. So I'm like, thank you. Like, I don't want people to think it's just like, what is your biggest ick when it comes to athlete culture? This can be like anything funny, locker room, anything. My biggest ick is like the gear. Like I can't. Like the glove, the hands, the smell that comes from the gloves is nothing like I've ever smelled before.
Yeah.
Like it's awful.
One. That's a good one. I guess going on with that, like the playoff beards, muzzies, no shaving. Like I kissed Jake goodbye last night and we're only 2 weeks into playoffs. I was like, oh, you need a landscaper. Like that is prickly as shit. So probably those.
So your team, no playoff beard.
Yeah, but I get it. Like
yes.
It. Like
it's part of the culture. It has to be done, but you're also allowed to not love it.
Yeah. Like I feel like we should be allowed to trim. It's like then the roots are still there.
Yeah, but then you're going to jinx the whole hockey season. That's the way it works.
Yeah, I promise Jake's not shaving. I've tried.
We're clarifying here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what's the best piece of advice you've gotten from someone in this lifestyle? If you can think of something.
I've definitely gotten good advice. Fully furnished apartments, fully furnished houses, live in fully furnished places. Yeah, because I got traded last year after fully furnishing it myself and learned my lesson. So fully furnished, that's definitely number. And like live very minimalistically.
I know that's hard because you're like, you want to, I mean, I hear that every year and I'm like, I never get settled into where I don't even think I had one photo on the wall last season. And I'm like, why? Why do I do this to myself? Because then I feel like I'm living like in someone else's space. So it's important to stay minimal, but also, you know, semi making it cozy.
Yeah, I don't listen to that one. I preach it, but I don't listen to it. We're fighting over hangers in an overstuffed closet right now. I heard it and it sounded like good.
Yeah, I don't take this advice, but it's the best piece. Oh my gosh. Okay. And then if you could tell your past self one thing before starting this chapter of life, what would it be?
Stay true to who you are. I think this life and both of the lives that I'm in, the times where I was the least successful and the least happy also is when I was like morphing into people that I wasn't. When we were talking about Barstool, I've thought about that a lot, like reflecting back on it about I was just like fresh out of college and everyone there was so sure of themselves. And I think the reason I really wasn't as successful as I felt like I could have been there was because I was trying to mimic all the people that I saw were doing so well and just like be the next them. And that doesn't work. And here in the hockey world, it's the same thing where it's like, okay, there's a group of girls and the one thing we have in common is that our partners all play hockey, but we're not all the same and we're very different and like hold your originality and who you are. And if that makes you stand out a little bit, that's okay. Don't like morph yourself and change yourself to try to fit in better and like maybe get invited somewhere more places. I think that's when I felt like the most lost in life. I did it in college too. And I went to Bama. Like I literally became like a Southern sorority girl. I said y'all. Like I'm from Boston. We don't say y'all. What are you doing? So I would just be like, know who you are and be her, even if it's a little different than everybody else. Like that's okay. That's what makes you special. And that's so cliche. And I also would probably like punch myself if I was younger and got a message from the future and that was it. I'd be like, really? That's it?
No, I love that because it's something that everybody goes through. Like anybody that's listening, if you cannot sit here and say that you have not done that, like that is not true. Like everybody has, you know, changed who they are a bit to try to fit in or to be a certain way, or you see everybody's doing things one way. And like, I love that and staying true to who you are and like sticking with that because there are a lot of things that you see or go through or people you meet. And like, I think that, you know, if you stay true to who you are, you're going to like, that's going to last longer than like pretending to be someone that you're not. So
right. You can also only do that for so long. And then
so long. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was so fun chatting with you. And for people that are listening, just go ahead and plug your channels. Where can people follow along with what you're doing, follow your page, anything like that? And I will also put all of this in the show notes as well.
Thank you so much. This was so fun. Okay, so all of my social media pages are at It's Kat Ellis, at ITSKATELLIS. All of my episodes in Out of His League are on my YouTube channel under that name, Katherine Ellis. All my personal content, we're on TikTok every single dang day. That's where you can find me.